Hi, this is Odeean here. Today I'm having a look at Toynami's plastic version masterpiece Lion Voltron. This piece is a little bit old, but I've pulled it out to have a look at it because in the mail this week I have Miracle Productions Vehicle Force Voltron coming, and I knew I'd want to look at these guys at the same time. So anyway, the thing that you can see in front of you now is the box. It's kind of a collector's carry case, if you know what I mean. Nice little handle here. This graphic is the outer slip, so I'm going to pull this off so you can have a look. Under that slip we've got this window style box, harkening back to old Godakins and even what Solid Chigokin do a lot of the time these days. I really believe that this is the best way to package and display toys. I mean, the thing that is key is the polystyrene insert behind these, because it keeps everything nice and snug in storage and it doesn't allow any compression when you put other things on top of it. Pulling off the front cover, you'll see what I'm talking about. Nice, firm plastic. In the polystyrene tray, they're already in their partial combination kind of mode. So you'll see in the show they're flying up like this and the components go flying and then they kind of lock together. There's always that stock animation sequence in a Voltron cartoon where they join. So I'm going to start joining them straight off the bat. And it's pretty easy. One thing I want to note is that this little tab or peg or whatever you want to call it, which goes on the arms, is quite pathetic. And being used to Solid Chigokins, I'm used to solid ass metal joints that probably outlast the rest of the toy on some of my combiners. This is not to that standard by no means. And you can see that it does have a little peg that it grasps in there, so in theory that is locked, but in reality I'm actually scared to twist this hard enough to rotate it. So you'll see that there was a rotation there. It's a heavily ratcheted joint, but the act of turning that ratchet twists the tail connector to such a degree that it feels like it's probably one day going to snap that off. It's not a good design. It's a very poor design. And what that results in is often a result to turning this whole section, which is not what's meant to happen, and leaves this ugly gap. But I'm just scared to always be bending it like that. So quickly, I'll plug the red Lion in. Doesn't want to go. No, it's not in right. You've got to get it so it grasps there. It's snapped in. There must be like a tiny metal pin inside that it has to grasp for it to lock, kind of like a C cup on a transformer joint for a weapon or something. Let's just bend the head up on this blue Lion, and you'll see there's a little trap door, spring-loaded door, so when you push your feet in there it'll close itself up when you pull it out. So we just want to get these feet and poke them downwards like that. There's no great secret to it, it just locks in. Very simple to achieve. Same with the other side, bend the yellow Lion down, insert this foot up the back side of the Lion, and there we go. The aesthetic of this guy isn't exactly what I would call masterpiece, and that's primarily because I think he's too thin. I've heard it said a great many times by people arguing the pros and cons of this, that this version is based off the cartoon more than it is off the toy. And I know that a lot of collectors, especially kids who are in the 80s, the impression is coloured by the old Matchbox, I think it was, the diecast Voltron. Now I've got that here, so this is what I'm talking about. So what we're all used to is this really thick, heavy toy, which is nowhere near the same level of posability as this guy, but still, in kind of the hearts and minds of people, we've got a heavy set Voltron. Now, I have watched Go Lion and Voltron both all the way through, and I do think that this guy is still a little bit thinner than what that Voltron is, especially where the waist is tapered so narrowly here. It doesn't sit well with what I expect from the toy. That's not to say I don't like it, but I still am waiting for that definitive version of Voltron, Lion Voltron. I also have the Matty Collector huge ass 24-inch Voltron. I've showed it briefly in another video with Fortress Maximus, I think, but I'm not going to bring him out here. He's too big to stand where my light tent is, but suffice to say, this guy, the head probably comes up to the knee joint on that Voltron, so it's a totally different class, and I don't consider that one my definitive Voltron either. I'm waiting for Bandai of Japan to produce an SOC Go Lion. That will probably be the one that really does it for me. We do get a good degree of posability out of this figure. You can hear that there's a single ratchet in the elbow backwards and forwards. We get a swivel under the elbow and again above the elbow, and that is the key feature that the huge Matty Collector Voltron didn't have, an elbow swivel, so that's really good. And you'll notice that there are metal pins, if I can focus on that, there are metal pins going through the joint, so it's probably pretty durable in that joint. As I mentioned earlier, we've got this ratcheted joint here, which is way too tough for the little flimsy plastic that holds it in. If you so choose, you can rotate it here, but again, it's not meant to happen like that. We've got really kind of weird range of motion on the neck, and that's because he's got to accommodate the lion poses as well as the robot poses, but nothing lacking there. And if you see, it does look nice and thick, so he's not got a scrawny pole with a ball on the top of it like what you might expect some ball joints to be. In and out at the shoulder there. The heads / hands are on little balls that can rotate the whole way around. The mouth can open and close somewhat. We've got in and out, a very flimsy in and out at the hips. In fact, a bit too flimsy. I don't like it that when you pick it up, they just fold together. And remember, this is the plastic version of this toy. There is a die-cast version out there, which I chose not to buy, that is way heavier than this. So you can imagine the problems that will cause with the things clanging together when you try to move it. I think that's a little bit weak. That is ratcheted backwards and forwards, and the ratchet can hold the weight. So you'll see if I stick him out like that, that ratchet is good enough to hold that position. And the worst limitation is that we only get one click of ratchet at the knee. So that is quite disappointing to me. I've done a lot of photo shoots with this guy, and that limitation is the one that really kills it when you go to take pictures. We also have swivel at the hip, or thigh if you want to call it, just like that. We've got the lion articulation in the neck, and something that's really cool is the neck can turn like that on the feet lines. So if you give him an A stance, for example, his feet, if I just bend the camera down, his feet can still meet the ground even when his legs are out sideways like that. Let's talk about weapons. So the first one is the shield. Now if you listen to this, this is a brittle piece of plastic, and I've seen people break this by dropping it. I haven't dropped it and I don't intend to, but it definitely feels brittle. But that's not to say I don't like it. I do like this shield. I like it a lot better than any other shield we've got so far, and the reason for that statement is this connector at the back. You'll see that it can turn around, and I don't know if that was just a convenience so that they could stick it through this hole, but that turning around makes it infinitely more valuable to me than another one, and I'll show you why. We open the mouth of one of the lions. This can actually tab into the top of the mouth. Now if you choose, you can bend it forward like this and have a traditional way of holding it like the old style toys. I actually have a panoche place somewhere as well, which is the original Voltron that could hold figures in it, and he always had to hold his shield like that, and I always hated that. That sucks. Who holds a shield like that? But the good thing about this rotating handle is that you can just bend it around, and now we have a proper way of holding a shield, which is much more awesome than sticking straight out in front like that. And for my money, this arm articulation along with the shield bending and the elbow swivel here is one of the key selling points of this set. It really differentiates it from other toys of Voltron and makes it worth getting on its own. Alright, next thing is the sword, blazing sword. So it's a little bit lacking because there's no paint color anywhere on the hilt or the handle, which is not very... It's disappointing. I mean, this is an expensive set, and a little bit of effort could have been put into this. They painted the shield. Whoa, there we go. They painted the shield. They could have done some blue or brown on the handle. But anyway, this just tabs in to the top, to the roof of the mouth, just like the shield did. And again, very, very posable. You can reach right, now I've done what I said I wasn't going to do. He can reach right behind himself. So he's about to swing and chop. The only thing limiting it is the knee, because you want to stick that leg up like this, so he's running to chop something, but the knee just doesn't let him bend far enough. But still, very, very good weapon posability. Let's have a look at some scale comparison shots. So who's the first one? I've showed you the line bot. Let's just quickly stick him in there again. Here's line bot, blah, 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 same height. You've seen my line bot a whole bunch of times. Here is another prized possession of mine, an original Vehicle Force Voltron. You can see he's massive compared to that guy. He's always been a big toy. As I mentioned, I've got the Miracle Productions. I've actually got 2 Miracle Productions Voltrons en route from different sources. So by the end of the month, if not 1, maybe 2 I'll shoot a video with them when it comes. Just put him down. For Transformers fans out there, here's my Hasbro version of MP10. Getting a little bit floppy. I've been playing with that one too much. You can see he's quite a bit shorter than Voltron here. Just comes up to the elbow. And one more. I said I wouldn't show the huge Voltron, but what I do have here is one of the Lions. So I've got 2 sets of this guy. This is the broken one that's missing a chest. That's how I got it. Fuck you, Mattel. You can see that just the black lion here is probably bigger. If you have to measure the volume, it's probably bigger than the whole Voltron of this Toynami plastic version. So Matty Collector Voltron is freaking huge, bigger than anything else. And if I was to put it, it would, like, here's the roof of my light tent. I wouldn't be able to pose these guys together. So you have to forgive me for not showing the whole of that guy. Let's take a look at the individual modes. So here we've got the green lion, and again that posability at the waist lets you reach some poses that were a little bit difficult to get with these guys. Now you can see that he has no swivel here. I don't want to break it, but I'm pretty sure he has no swivel here. He did have it above the elbow / waist like that, but because it wasn't at the other side, you couldn't get this arching kind of position. So definitely the Toynami version has that over the old guy. But also the old version, I mean, just look at this. The head is absolutely massive compared to the body. So although this guy does have, the Toynami version does have a head which is a little bit big, it's by nowhere near the same extent as huge as the Lion Bot which I've got. But sadly, the Lion Bot has a feature that the Toynami doesn't. A flying punch, or you can't really call it a rocket punch, rocket fist. That's awesome. That's a great feature, and there's no reason that couldn't have been accommodated into this toy. Now I know there's a ball joint here, but on the end of that ball there could have been a stem, and this big raised section here was the perfect place for a button to shoot it. So I think that the fact that we don't have that rocket punch is just really them cheaping out a little bit. Another thing that no one seems to get these days is that this chrome is freaking awesome. I like chrome on my toys. I don't know why. Not all toys. I'm not saying every robot toy. Silver paint can be really good sometimes too, but there's something about Voltron that needs chrome for me. I grew up with, as I said, the Panoche place. I didn't grow up the Matchbox one, but I saw heaps of other kids who had it, and Voltron without a little bit of chrome just doesn't seem right. So I wish this wasn't silver paint. I wish it was chrome, or at least a more silver paint that's a little bit less matte. Red Lion looks pretty good. So Red Lion is my second favourite lion, Black Lion being the first. And this is a very good rendition of Red Lion. He's got the right angles, nice proportions, a nice red colour, nice gold eyes. In fact, these figures are pretty nice, and I'm going to make some comments later on. I don't want that to take away from it. Individually, I do like these guys, and I do like the overall Voltron. Just there's a few little issues here and there. The Blue Lion. Now his posture is a little bit weird. I feel that the proportions of the legs are a bit out, and that contributes to it. But again, we've got a nice degree of posability. As you raise the head up and down like this, I'll show it from this angle. What it does is, it's hard to see that, I don't know if it's showing up. It very slightly moves these arms out, so you get more of a clearance for this ball joint. And unlike any other Voltron, they are on, I think they're on balls. So we've got a backwards and forwards that's ratcheted, but it can move in and out any direction like that, which is a big advantage this guy has, and probably another one of the key selling points compared to other Lion Voltrons, given that there are so many different versions of Lion Voltron. The paintwork has been done to a pretty high standard as well. So if you look at the top of the head here, he has all the appropriate colorings. Sometimes they cheap out a little bit. Different Voltrons have different degrees of paint complexity, and this one seems to be quite a high degree. Very nice. Next we have the Yellow Lion, who I quite like, but again we've got the weird proportions on the legs, same degree of posability, but sadly, I mean, this piece you can pull it right off. That's just how they chose to connect it. But it's not this. It's not a weapon that rises up and has a missile. I don't know where I've put the missile, but there's a missile that shoots out of this. The original old style Voltron has loads of missiles that shoot out all over the place. This guy, nothing. Come on, you could have given us just a little missile to stick in there. The Lions are supposed to be kind of formidable on their, each of their own right is supposed to be a formidable weapon. And these guys have no weapons. My God, they don't shoot anything. These panels at the side of the head, they don't bend out. If you look at the original Voltron, we have missile launchers in the face. You can't get more armed than that. Your ears and your cheeks peel open and little rockets shoot out. He also had missiles that go into there, which I still have somewhere. This guy, not so much. I guess he's got a growl. Anyway, it looks good. And here is where the story becomes sad. Black Lion, skinny as a pretzel, weak-ass black lion, whose legs stick out unbelievably far at the back and look really, really ugly, like a guy with his knees bent backwards. There's not much I can say. I mean, the quality of the build is okay. As I said, the neck is nice and thick. We've got this really good posability at the neck. The Voltron face does bend up here, so you don't see it in his open mouth. They are good, strong selling points. The tail's on a nice, sturdy joint. But he's skinny. I mean, look at this. Look at the thinness of the foreleg here. It is just really, really skinny. And these are ugly back here. So he does not look like a lion. Just looks like part of a guy. It's pretty sad because Black Lion is my favourite lion. I've always liked the Black Lion. I've got two of the Panoche Place one. I don't know, I've just picked them up over the years. I've got this Lion Bot, so you'll see that I know the diecast guy here is really stocky, but I'm not against the way this looks. In fact, this is pretty much a perfect toy for me. I've liked it my whole life, this version of it, and with the exception of not being able to pose his head except in that direction, I still like this figure to this day. And he has weapons that plug in on his shoulders here, so you can arm this guy to the teeth. Whereas this guy again has no weapons. The Toynami version has no weapons and just looks really, really weak. And then towering over them both is the huge ass Matty Collector, squashed the crap out of everyone, Black Lion, who is also pretty good. If you can accept the fact that he will fall down on his face like this at the drop of 1 gram of weight on his back, because he's got no joints except for a flimsy spring here. Would have been a good toy if it wasn't for that. And also you can't move his head up and down whatsoever without stripping the ratchets. So almost a good figure. One word of warning that I want to put in is everything about these figures is straightforward except for one part of the transformation. So I just have to show this, otherwise people are going to break it. To get this arm in, forearm, foreleg, whatever, we need to open this flap, and this is a very key thing. Bend the toe like this and just point it in the direction you want it to go. So you can see that it's kind of pointed up into the cavity. You can't push that in with your hands. I don't know why, but the way it's engineered, it's a very specific motion. So once it's in that spot, you just need to get this door and close it. Pushing the door shut by applying force here pushes the hand exactly where it's meant to go. If you try to do it another way, it has, like you can fold it up into this section and then there will be no clearance. This door won't shut properly. The way I just showed it here is basically the only way to achieve that without stressing or wrecking the toy. My final thoughts. This is a good toy. It's had a wide range of prices. So originally, this was on BBTS for $65, I think, which for this figure, $65 is very, very cheap and definitely 100% recommendable at that price. Now, it hasn't been that price for years. I think it was a few years at least since that's come out. At the time I bought it, they were going for absurd prices on eBay. We're talking about 400 plus, and it wasn't uncommon for them to sell much higher than 400, which is really insane. There is a die-cast version, and I mean, at the time I bought this, they were selling for the same price as the die-cast version. People wanted any version they could get, and so they were kind of just going crazy over it. I refused to pay that price, and I just watched sales for months and months and searched foreign language listings, all this kind of business, and in the end I found this for $100, which is a pretty good price. I got it from some guy in France. When he sent it to me, it absolutely reeked of pot. So I think that some stoner had this in his living room and was just going nuts next to it. I had to scrub it down with soapy water to get the stench off. Other than that, no, there were no problems whatsoever. The box was even in really good shape. So I think I got a pretty good deal. There's a lot of speculation that Bandai are about to do one, that they've got the license. I don't know if that's true or not. Everyone keeps talking about it. Whether it's a fact in reality is yet to be seen. But I think maybe that speculation pretty soon is probably going to start driving the price down on these. So it might become a good time to buy this version if this is something that you like. But honestly, if I was in the market for a Lion Voltron right now, I think I would probably wait for Bandai as well, because they just tend to do things a little bit better. Here's, look at this. He can't get down on the knee. If this guy could get down on his knee, it would be like at least twice as good as what I consider it to be now. Which, what I do consider it to be is a pretty solid, good figure. It's worth $100. It's not worth $200. So if you can get it in that price range, definitely worth picking up. I like it. He's pretty versatile. But as I said before, lacking in weapons, a little bit lacking in posability, joint quality is pretty crap in the shoulders. So anyway, this has been my video review for Toynami's plastic version of Masterpiece Voltron. I'm Odeean, and thanks for watching.